name it, and big thick sandwiches, and these kids were amazed. And where it took them 5 minutes to eat their lunch, it took me 45 to eat my lunch. And by the time I finished my lunch and closed my lunchbox, I had to go back in class. And kids had already played for an hour, you know. You were called a lot of names, a ding, a wog, a this, or that. But hey, that didn't worry me. And especially these days, where, you got to be very careful what you say, how you say it. My sort of philosophy is...
Today I'm joined by Domenic Manno, a 75-year-old retiree in Perth, Western Australia. I've known Dom for 10 years now, and in those 10 years, he's regaled me with his interesting and fascinating life stories. Today, we won't be able to cover Dom's entire life, but we'll like to share some of the highlights, lessons, and advice. Dom also happens to be my father-in-law and one of my favorite people. I hope you enjoyed this chat. Welcome to Kirei. So Dom, going back to your earlier years, the beginning, what was life like for you?
Well, I was born here in Western Australia, country boy. Went to school in the metro area in those days. Coming from an Italian background and having a mother that, only spoke Italian really in those days, and a grandmother with us. And my father was the only one that could speak English. So you can imagine, going to school first up. Man, I had a lot of words to learn because I only knew a few. But hey, I caught on quick, and pretty soon things were going pretty good.
So you only spoke Italian at home?
Yeah, I only spoke Italian at home because, let's face it, Mum was the main one. Dad was out working all the time.
Right.
And spoke Italian. But like I say, once you get with your peers, at that age, you soak it up and away you go, which I did.
Yeah.
It was good, and we moved around several times. Went to several schools in the metro area, and ended up, in Queen's Park of all places.
Okay.
And it was good life actually in those days. In the early 60s, we I was a little fat kid. And, my early childhood was sort of reasonably entertaining, I suppose, because, you sort of had to, you needed a bridge, between the Aussie way and the Italian way, and having a grandmother living with us.
Right. Okay.
That even sort of made it, firmer in the Italian sort of thing because, she was one of these people that kept, sort of drilling things, sort of telling you how it is and how it was and that things could be worse and could be bad, and all this sort of thing. But, I didn't go into school and, taking Italian lunches to school,
Right.
And...
How did that go down?
Well, for me, it went down good because, like I say, I was a little fat kid, But, for me Aussie mates or, the peers at the time, say they had jam and Vegemite, whereas, I had all sorts of, meats and sausages and you name it, and big thick sandwiches, and these kids were amazed. And where it took them 5 minutes to eat their lunch, it took me 45 to eat my lunch. And by the time I finished my lunch and closed my lunchbox, I had to go back in class. And kids had already played for an hour, So, that's one of the things that, that I can remember in my early days, In those days, it was different to today. You were called a lot of names, a ding, a wog, a this, or that. But hey, that didn't worry me. I just sort of rolled with the punches and kept going and, played sport. I liked sport.
What sport did you play?
Well, I played, football, of course. Didn't like cricket.
Yeah.
Played, actually, I did athletics too, by the way. I mean, I had a younger sister that was really fast runner, and she was, it was interesting actually doing athletics as a little fat kid, because they sort of left you alone and thinking you're not going to come anywhere near the front. But a couple of times I came pretty close.
Right.
It was
You were a threat.
yeah, I was a threat. Yeah, it was. It was good. But like I say, I had a good childhood. It was the neighbourhood was good. I mean, we got into the biffs as kids normally do, but it was, it's not like these days, where there's, other things to sort of take you away from the good times that you can have.
Right.
But it was interesting, we did a lot of things, had a lot of friends in the neighbourhood. We were in that area for 10 years.
Right.
I went to high school in Kalamunda and did a year or so at Ken Street. I mean, I wasn't a real smart guy, but I got by, got my junior, and kept going. I met the girl, and and that came to the next stage.
The next stage. What would you say mattered the most to you? What was the most important thing in your life at that stage? Was it your friends, cars? What were you most passionate about?
I don't know. I was a guy that didn't take too many risks, really. I think what mattered to me most was, sort of going to work, really, earning money, I think.
Right.
And that sort of instilled from my parents,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we weren't really well off, we were just sort of run-of-the-mill guys, only naturally in those days a one-income family, and, Dad worked hard, he worked away as well. The most important thing I think was getting out, getting a job, and sort of, getting on with it. I think, because I felt that at school I wasn't going to be smart enough to, go to uni or anything like that. I knew that because I just didn't have the head to study,
Right.
So therefore, I think doing, going to work, I think was more important. Sure, there was nightclubs, there was cars, there was going out, there was, all sorts of sports activities and things like that. But I think most important of all was sort of getting a job, knuckling down, and and earning money so that I could sort of move forward. I think that was the most important thing.
If you were to look back at that phase and maybe the phase prior to the girl, what would be a lesson you wish you'd learned earlier in your childhood or in the earlier years? What would be one of the key lessons or some of the lessons?
Well, I think an important thing which I sort of strayed from was the friendships that I made before sort of getting married. I sort of, once I sort of met the girl, I more or less went down that track entirely. Yeah. What a person should do, I think, is sort of keep in touch with people of his childhood, because there is a lot to talk about, and as happened actually just quite recently, joined up with a couple of guys that I knew in my childhood. I hadn't sort of really seen them for 50 years, and then we sort of got together, and there's that much you can talk about. Yeah. So really, if you communicate, sort of keep those people in mind and sort of go back to them. I think that's one of the things, that I think that I missed on my run anyway.
If there is a 16 to, let's say, 25-year-old listening to you right now, what would be some of the advice you'd give them?
Well, again, I think you always as a person of that age, you've got to think to the future. Because, at the end of the day, you're only here once. So even though you shouldn't, forsake the good times that you might be having or that you're going to have in that age space, you've still got to look to the future. So I would say to any young, especially male, I suppose, I would say, work, and be honest to yourself, save your money, because these days, I think that's where it starts and finishes. If you haven't got it, it's going to be very hard. And also your health. You got to look after your health. During those years, you can't go out and sort of really bust yourself up in any way, shape, or form, because you're going to suffer in the at the end. And I'm telling you that even hard work will make you sad and sorry at the end. But like I say, I would say if you're a young bloke these days and you haven't got the aptitude, say, to become a professional, and you want to stick to a trade or something like that, pick something that you like, because it's got to come from the heart, your work. If it doesn't, you're going to have a pretty miserable life, not enjoying where you spend most of your life. And get if you start an apprenticeship or whatever, a trade, work your overtime. If you get overtime, work it, because that's going to really help you. So what I'm saying is, make sure that by the time you do eventually want to get married or something like that, you've got backup. You've got at least something behind you that you can sort of put to use to make life a little bit easier. Because by doing the hard yards at the beginning, it's going to make it easier later on, and that's what it's all about. You don't want to get old and suffer, that's for sure, because trust me, it doesn't feel or look good.
What would you say to someone? So we focused on people between under 25 to 16. What would you say to people who are in the 30s, 40s, and even 50s who are maybe feeling stuck or behind in any way? What advice would you offer those people?
Well, again, I think marriage is important, and I think a lot of people these days leave marriage a little bit too late, because you do get set in your ways if you leave it too late, and that's where I think few of the problems arise, where once a man and a woman are set in their ways and then they get together, it seems to be easier. The way I see it from people I speak to and see and whatever, it's easier for them to break things, you know what I mean? Whereas if you get married in, say, your early 20s, I got married at 23, and I feel that was the right age for me to get married, To get married at that age and have your children earlier in life so that you can not only enjoy them in activities, but you can also, believe it or not, enjoy your grandchildren as well, because you're young enough to do things with them, So, so what I would say to someone is, pick the right woman, of course, and that these days is a job in itself, and you've got to, like I say, you've got to pick a good woman, a good woman. Of course, you've got to be a good man, but pick a woman that can make a home, is what I say, because you can buy a house, but you got to make a home. By getting a good woman, you can, spend a good life. I mean, you take me for example. I mean, people say, geez, you're a boring old fart. I sort of, married at 23, been married for 52 years. I've had the same friends since then, you know what I mean, for 50 odd years, same friends. I've had the same job from when I left school to when I retired, at the same place. So a lot of people say, well, geez, that's a pretty boring, but it's not, because I've enjoyed everything throughout those years, and it's given me stability. And that stability is what makes, for a good family, 3 kids, so far so good. I haven't had any dramas with them. The grandkids, so far so good. Like I say, I don't think I've missed out on anything. That's for sure. I've done what I wanted to do. I've done a lot of different things, and I sort of seem to do them in batches of 10 years. For 10 years I do something, and then I give that away and do something else for 10 years, and then something else for 10 years. So, I've had, I've done a lot of things, and and like I say, it's been a stable life. And I think that's very important these days, because if you don't make your own stability, you ain't going to find it out there in the wide world, because things aren't stable out there anyway. So, if you keep it level, I think you'll go far. Of course, you've got to have your health, and never underestimate your health, because your health, without that, you can have all the money in the world, and it doesn't mean a thing. Sure, there's things these days that can keep you going, but they don't keep you going, that well, because things sort of fall apart, and mending things really doesn't, is not as good as the real thing.
The original parts.
Yeah, the original parts, yeah. But so I, the advice I give to sort of people is that, when you retire, of course, it is a big change. I mean, I like my job. I love my job. I mean, I've spent a life dealing with people, Probably a lot of them didn't like me.
I find that hard to believe.
But, when you're you spend most of your life supervising people, it makes it hard, because you're dealing direct with people, and I think that's the hardest job,
So,
dealing with people, because everybody is different, and everyone's got their needs, and especially these days, where you got to be very careful what you say, how you say it, and how you act. So there's a lot of things that are in your way, really, when you're trying to do a job and supervising people. The other important thing is, in like when you get to an age where you are retiring, try very hard while you are working to not to be left with a mortgage when you retire, because that is a big strain on your health as well. So to be mortgage free, don't owe anybody anything, and life can still be good. You can still go holidays. You can still do a lot of things, but you got to have those things in place, because if you don't, there is help out there, but there's no better help than helping yourself, and you got to help yourself early in life, because if you leave it too late, you'll find that it is going to be hard. But again, I say that if you're a good person and work hard, I think things, will come to you. The thing is, it takes time. All things take time, and get rich quick and all this sort of stuff. Is all well and good, but check the percentage of people that that's happened to, and it won't be too big, I tell you.
Is there any final words you'd like to share with anyone listening right now?
Notice your own self, because you've if you don't look after yourself and notice yourself, these days it's very hard for other people to, because they got their own things going, So you've got to sort of understand and give yourself time and you got to like yourself, because if you don't like yourself, it's going to be hard, So yeah, that's it. Be true to yourself and carry on, because life is interesting. I might have given you the boring bits, but my sort of philosophy is, just work hard when you got the chance, enjoy life when you got the chance, and relax when you got the chance.
Perfect. That is perfect. I think we'll end it there. Thank you so much, Dom. I appreciate it. I knew there'll be some pearls of wisdom in there, and you definitely delivered. For anyone watching, listening, I hope this resonated with you. I would love for you to leave some comments and thoughts in the comments section. Please subscribe for future stories and episodes such as this. Till next time, look after yourself and see you at the next Kikao.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you very much.